Hello and welcome everyone as we're loaded on to the Great Old Summoner's Rift map for yet another game of League of Legends. Spotify employees fighting it out all day today, and now we are treated with two new teams on the Rift here. Zirene, excited to be able to cast Team Deciding and Fast and Ferrous with you today. Fast and Ferrous already going for a deep invade of the enemy jungle.
Yeah, there's a ward though. You can already tell that these players are way more coordinated than the last team. They all bought items at level 1. The only purchase here that I think is not really a go-to purchase or a standard one is the Master Yi CTC Valle. I'm not sure if those L's, double L's, sometimes they throw me off. But CTC, they didn't buy any potions alongside their boots. So the summoner spell choices as well. Not seeing a teleport from him. So I think the newest person in the game is probably CTC, and then everybody else has at least some experience because they seem to be doing standard things.
And we also see the Master Yi. Master Yi itself is a very early champion that you can get in the game. Doesn't cost a lot of in-game currency to pick up. So a lot of players gravitate towards this one early on. With that being said, it's not the easiest champion to, pull off successfully when you're first starting the game. I usually look at champions like Darius, look at champions like Warwick as those early ones that you'll want to pick up. Yeah, Garen as well. So we'll see what CTC can do on the Master Yi pick. So many wards. If you look at the bottom right of your screen, you see what's called that mini map down there. And all those wards, all those little red little V shapes, those little Ys that you see down there mean that is where Team Deciding have their vision. They can actually see all that. So they know that Cast Iron Griddle went for that invade in the jungle and took away one of their buffs. And Spotifood is actually using that information very well, is not going towards the bottom half. Should realize, yep, there's no buff down there for me to take, and instead goes for the Krugs on the top half.
Yeah, it's like you see those little Ys, those little red Ys, those little. It's so funny when you have to explain something that's usually just like it's it's like assumed knowledge, right? It's like trying to explain to somebody what chicken tastes like or a strawberry. Just like, oh yeah, it tastes like chicken. It's like, what's that taste like? You're like,
I
takes
guess
that extra second.
I always like to compare flavors to other sensory inputs, like feeling. Like chicken tastes like how I don't know. Well, now I actually can't think of an example of what it would feel like. But I kind of shot myself in the foot right there. But imagine something that feels like how
it tastes like shooting yourself in the foot. No. That's what victory tastes like.
Well, let's bring our attention back to the games I read and away from my terrible analogies here. We see in the top lane, CTC in a lot of trouble here. Oh, gets knocked up with the pillar in front of him. No, the Master Yi player already taking some trouble in the top half of the map, giving up first blood to the enemy team, Fast and Ferrous.
Yep, and it's one of those things where Cast Iron Griddle, I think he's a bit more of a seasoned player. They all went in, they invaded the enemy jungle. The enemy saw it. There was no counter. And then Cast Iron Griddle is able to hit level 3 by cycling the bottom end of the top side, and then he's right there next to the weak member. Ooh, almost played on the trap.
The bottom half, Cast Iron Fan gets a lot of damage in onto Nevada's. That was almost beautifully played. We saw the Caitlyn, those little traps, those bear traps you see, they actually provide additional layers of crowd control, which means that if you step on it, you can't move. You're stuck there for a couple seconds. And Cast Iron Pan and Cast Iron Spatula using full advantage of their combination between their two champions, almost getting a kill.
Yep. Because the Thresh champion can move people, so if there's a trap down, you can move them into the trap. So you can CC them into a CC. And right here, Spotifood. Ooh, see, you can see, yeah, Cast Iron Griddle is definitely a seasoned player. That's not something that you try to do if you're new to the game. You don't try to stop somebody's movement with the pillar.
Yeah, that pillar that Trundle throws out Trundle itself as a champion mostly provides just a semi-beefy front line and then auto attacks. You're just bopping people with that big club of yours. But that one pillar, he can summon that pillar from the ground, and if you use that correctly, that can be the difference maker in a fight, because that is pretty much all the CC, the crowd control that he provides. Now trying to use it on the bottom lane. Exhaust goes down onto my bare hands. A Caitlyn running away. Death Sentence lands, and Caitlyn, you ain't going anywhere. Kill goes over to Cast Iron Griddle.
Yep, Cast Iron Griddle saw that the Jarvan, that Spotifood NYC, he was in the mid lane and then went towards top side. And you just saw this Trundle. He just trudged all the way down bottom side and he's able to set up a play with the help of the rest of the Cast Iron squad.
That Thresh champion is so dangerous to deal with in that lane. He's got multiple forms, multiple abilities that will, like you said, move you around. You don't want to get into the enemy team, but Thresh says, you're coming over here regardless. He throws out that hook, lands onto you, and pulls you towards himself, and sets up his team to provide all that damage and then get the kill at the end of the day. So now this Trundle, Cast Iron Griddle, with 2 kills under his belt, goes for that first back, and we see the items coming in now. Picks up a Bomby Cinder and Boots, so that means that going to have much tankier stats, can soak up more damage, but also will be outputting more damage at the same time.
Yep, and remember when I talked about snowballing at the beginning? I think that that's something that he's going to try to do. This champion is not really like known to carry games, but can really carry early game and be very hard to deal with. So I expect him to kind of take over this portion of the game. And if he's able to do that effectively and put the enemy team super far behind, I think the Cast Iron Griddle, Cast Iron Griddle, it can take over and really just be a dominant force during this first part of the game.
And when you got Chef winning the top lane so hard himself, up a lot of CS over a lane opponent in CTC, this Master Yi player struggling in the early stages, and that means that the gold advantage is swinging in the favor now of Team Fast and Ferrous. Again, directing your attention to the top half of the screen, this is how you keep track of who's in the lead. You see those big numbers in the middle, 2-0. That means there are 2 kills on the side of Fast and Ferrous and 0 on the side of Team Deciding. But the bigger number to pay attention to is the smaller numbers on the outside of that 2 and that 0, that 10.3k and that 8.4k, as we see Griddle just walking at Spot of Food and pushing him away. That 10.4k to 8.5k means that there's a 2,000 gold lead on the side of Fast and Ferrous, and all that gold is pretty much in the pocket of that Trundle. So like you said, carrying the early game is what we expect to see from this Trundle player.
Yep, and I mean, he's a Cast Iron Griddle. The first thing he wants on the enemy team is the Spot of Food. I think probably not the best choice of names. I think he might be hard countered here by all of these cooking utensils.
And my bare hands, how are you supposed to pick up a griddle with that? I mean, they don't have actual thumbs. It's just got these big paws with claws. I mean, yeah, this is it's a rough. It's like Pokemon, you know, like fire type beats grass type. I feel like that's kind of what we're running into right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you were talking about the numbers at the top of the screen. If you want to get a little more into the nitty-gritty, you look at that bottom of the screen. There's the kills, the deaths, the assists, those 3 numbers in a row. And then those double-digit numbers, the CS, the creep score. And you can see they're pretty close across the map. You want to compare usually lane opponents to each other. And the only real big discrepancy is that top lane. There is some in the middle, but that top one, the 49 to the 17 to the 19 now. So that's going to be a decent amount of gold, that 30 CS advantage. Yep. And now I'm thinking about why it's called creep score again, man. Like, is the creep score something you want in the game? Not so much in real life.
Well, they look kind of creepy. They got these hoods on. They got these little axes and shields. I think it's appropriate, but the flash forward by Cast Iron Chef says, nom, 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 get in my belly. Now the gank on the mid lane. Spot of Food cannot quite find that one as Retrowave Outrun gets some damage onto Cast Iron Season, but no kills netted. Just a solo in the top lane.
Yep, the Cho'Gath champion, another one that's actually pretty beginner-friendly, but you can see the Cast Iron Chef. He is no stranger to the kitchen right now. He is cooking up some good meals in that top lane. Cho'Gath likes to eat his opponents and actually make himself more powerful by doing so. I think it's called a Feast is the name of his ultimate ability, where he will just eat somebody and do true damage, which means it ignores armor and magic resistance, which are the 2 things that you buy to, stop damage types. It's its 3rd damage type. It ignores armor. It ignores all resistances and just does pure damage.
It's so hard to deal with that true damage, especially coming from Cho'Gath, who's considered a tank. In the early stages of the game, you're not going to be as tanky, but as the game goes on, he gains a little bit of health whenever he's able to kill things with that ultimate ability, that Feast. So already picking up one of those stacks means that Chef is doing a great job of setting himself up for success, as we see a 1v1 in the mid lane and another gank in the top lane. CTC might be able to get out of this one, but no, one final auto attack from Griddle will be enough to secure that kill, as Season trying his best to get that kill onto the Zoe in the mid lane. Can't quite find it.
The question is Wave Outrun gonna stick around. He's gonna use the potions. He's gonna stick around. Seasoned Cast Iron used the summoner spell called Teleport, which can make it so that you can go to any part of the map that has a friendly unit or structure there. It's on cooldown now, but he used it to go back and then return to lane instantly, which is something that gives you pressure. It allows you to keep staying in the lane and make sure that your opponent has to match you. So you can see what Seasoned Cast Iron did is he went from the mid lane to the top part, and Nevadas, actually trying to turn us around.
Cast Iron Pan could be in trouble, but my bare hands pretty much out of mana, so couldn't do much to follow up on that CTC. I actually would have liked to see him continue to chase down that kill, but not going to. And I actually don't know if CTC put a point in the ultimate ability.
No, he did
Level
not.
8 right now and still doesn't have it, and in a lot of trouble here. The turret goes down because of the Rift Herald topside, and another gank. Griddle's on a rampage, 4-0 and 0, and Zirene. I'm getting flashbacks to game number 1. This jungler is just out of control.
Well, the thing is that it's one player, and junglers, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to find the weakest person on the enemy team. You're supposed to sniff out that weakness, and you're supposed to abuse it. You're supposed to keep going to that lane. You don't have to get everybody fed. You just have to be able to use that griddle and serve up a meal to one person, and you just got to keep giving them those extra courses. That's a 4-course meal in the top lane, and it's just the same thing 4 times. Not a great meal, but it works in League of Legends.
They might even go back for dessert later on. You never know. Just that extra little cherry on top here. Chef, though, now that that top turret is gone, this opens up the map a little more, and now there's decisions that can be made here from the side of Fast and Ferrous. They can decide if they want to continue with what is considered the laning phase, where everyone's in their normal assigned positions, top laners in top, mid laners in mid, or they could switch things up now. With that top turret gone, this is a point in the map or in the game where you can instead send the top laners to the bottom half if you want, or to the mid lane, try and get them elsewhere around. So in your expert opinion, Zirene, what would you recommend that Fast and Ferrous does in this moment?
I would keep the Cho'Gath in the top lane. I'd keep him just snacking on CTC, and I would just keep using that over and over again, because Feast, his ultimate, stacks infinitely against champions. So if he keeps eating a champion, doesn't matter if he's killed him 100 times, he'll keep getting more and more health for doing so. So I'd keep him up there. I'd just go ahead and blow up the Master Yi over and over again, because I don't think the Master Yi is a good enough player to know what to do in this situation. You can see what he's doing. He's running around in the lane. He's not doing a jungle camp. He's not finding a lane to swap to. He is just sitting there stranded, playing by himself, kind of like, he's kind of been cut off from his team. It's something that you would usually go to the emergency room for, but he's just being completely abandoned right now. I think they've almost amputated the top lane from the game.
It's one of those moments where if you're on the side of team decided, or team deciding, there we go, I got it. Team deciding, you have a few options yourself. You can say, okay, yep, we're going to amputate that top lane, just kind of try and play the game without the Master Yi in a position to help carry, or we're going to try and help him out going to the top side. So far, they've been deciding to make plays on the bottom half of the map, and that's what they're doing right now. Spot of Food looks for the engage, gets flash out of Cast Iron Pan, but they don't find any kills.
Yeah, but they got the flash, so that means that next time he can come back and use that ultimate again, put him in a trap. The jar will be good. Oh, there's a Brute, though.
They get the heal out of him, flashes to get behind his Trundle, ace in the hole from the opposing Caitlyn in my bare hands, not going to do enough. Spot Food now, use the flag and drag Deed away. The death sentence lands, there we go, Seasoned Cast Iron jumps in, Nevadas cannot save her jungler, and now my bare hands in trouble. Ace in the hole from the enemy, Caitlyn will land, and that's 2 quick kills over to Fast and Ferrous, but they still want more. Here we go. Retro Wave Outrun cannot find enough burst on the Seasoned Cast Iron to get a kill, and this should be a dragon for the team.
Yeah, it should be a dragon. The Zoe is a big poke champion, though. We'll see what happens here. No real teleport from the top lane can help him, but the teleport can actually be used in response. We'll see. Yep, some damage there. Yeah, it's just some poke, but there's nothing that they can really do about that. So yeah, 7-0 in the score in terms of kills. 2 dragons to 0, and now about a 7,000 gold advantage for the Cast Iron crew. I keep changing their name.
Fast and Ferrous, indeed. They're really living up to the fast part of that name. Trying to speed run. We'll see. The game number 1 was over in what, 23 minutes, 22 minutes, I believe, somewhere around that time. And we might be on pace here because, again, the faster you can destroy these turrets means the faster you can get to the enemy team's base. And that is exactly what Cast Iron Chef is taking care of on the top half. Now we see Team Deciding starting to send some members up there. If you notice, yep, Spot of Food and Retro Wave Outrun made their way up to the top half, but it was too late. Turret was already gone, and Cast Iron Chef has done the damage necessary. That means there's only that inhibitor turret left on that top half of the map, and Team Deciding needs to respect that because they could start losing their base quickly here.
Yeah, and this is the part of the game where experience would really, really help. A lot of newer players just stick in their lane and stay there, and you can see what the Master Yi does. I love to watch the minimap. Like, I feel like the screen is usually a distraction at this point in the game because nobody's going to fight each other for a bit. But I like to watch the movements on the minimap. And I just see that Nevadas has helped the Master Yi at least get to the lane. But now Master Yi is just going to stand there. And if he goes forward, he's just going to get killed. So watch here. He's moving forward. You can see he has people coming from behind. And they don't see him yet. They don't see him yet. But when they see the Master Yi, I expect them to move. Yep,
Cast Iron Jeff also has teleport, so if Cast Iron Griddle drops down a ward, he could commit to this, but I don't know if Griddle needs any help. He's just 1v1ing CTC right now. Look at that pillar, just bop, 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 using that Cast Iron Griddle and taking down CTC Valley. The Master Yi's got nowhere to go, and Cast Iron Griddle will pick up that kill solo.
Yep, and that's the thing. It's like, you just keep going forward. You don't see any other options, and hold on.
Once more, Nevadas with the beautiful two-man root. The ultimate used to full effect, and a soul from a bare hands will pick up another kill. Cast Iron Spatula taking the brunt of that damage.
And that was a nice little just ace in the hole there. The ultimate from Caitlyn from a bare hands, kind of getting the first kill of the game, but he had to bend a bullet to do it. That's some Angelina Jolie stuff right there.
Right around Cast Iron Pan. I think the Pan actually could have sidestepped to block that. Okay, that's Flash out of Retro Wave Outrun in the mid lane. Was looking for that assassination onto Pan. Cannot quite find it.
You can tell he's feeling the pressure because he had Ignite and he didn't use it.
Ooh.
And I think that would have killed Cast Iron Pan at that point.
If you throw down the Ignite and then Flash out, probably would have been that kill. But regardless, Pan is able to limp away with his life still intact. The Thresh player yet to die, as well as 4 other members.
Does a Pan limp away?
Maybe roll away, but you can't really roll a Pan because
I know,
it's got
that's what I was thinking.
I
was like, the handle's gonna really impede that.
Shuffle, maybe shuffle, kind of like you do like a shuffleboard. Like you just kind of bowl it out, grease the bottom of the Pan.
You just slide it. Yeah. You slide it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you got a
slides right out of there.
Slippery enough surface, it works. You see another 1v1 against Griddle. Griddles definitely will not slide. They're pretty callous, and I think we're seeing that right here as he's just tearing through CTC.
Yep, and I don't think he's going to do any sliding or anything like that, like you were saying. Not especially out of there. He's just going to keep going. He's a machine right now. He's going to keep pushing.
And Team Deciding tries to make the play onto Cast Iron Chef. So the way the naming comes out, you would assume Cast Iron Chef is the team captain, right? Because the chef is the one that uses all the tools, uses all of the instruments in the kitchen. But I don't know if that's actually the case here, because I believe it's Pan that is the team captain. So we'll have to rethink our naming strategy here as another 2v2 breaks out here. Nevada's trying their best to get away, but the Flash will not save her life. A knockup comes in from Cast Iron Chef. Pan with the death sentence, and that's enough for a kill. Spot of Food goes down, grilled up in the fire, as now the push continues mid lane.
Yep, they're going to keep pushing here. They're going to get some damage on this turret. Oh, there's a hook. He's going to take it.
Run. Could be in trouble. Still dodging away, trying to avoid all that CC, but there goes Cast Iron. And another kill picked up. Flashes forward once more, but the bare hands has the damage to take him out under turret. But still, it's the push continuing from Fast and Ferrous. They should claim this mid turret.
I mean, when you get slapped by some bare hands, I assume it hurts a lot more than just getting slapped by some regular hands.
Bears don't need any cast iron instruments to eat their food, Zirene. They just use their claws. But they will defend their mid turret here and force Fast and Ferrous back a little bit. They got overeager trying to force that play in the mid lane and secure that turret. But instead they say, okay, let's just go back, get the objective instead. Dragon is available, so all 4 members grouping up, and we'll secure this one.
Yep. So they're going to pick up this 3rd dragon of the game, and this puts them on this thing that's called Soul Point. When you get 4 dragons of any kind, you get a dragon soul, which means that there's no more of those dragons that spawn for the rest of the game, and you get an extra bonus depending on what dragon type it is. So there's 4 dragon types: Cloud, Ocean, Mountain, and Infernal. And this is a Mountain soul, so it'll give everybody a shield on the team that gets the soul. So right now, it's 1 more for the blue team, 1 more dragon, which spawns every 5 minutes. And then on the red team, they need 4 in order to get it. So they are very far away from that, and it's just an extra boost in power 5 minutes from now, if the game goes that long, for that blue team.
I think we've all seen Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra here, Zirene. At least the OG Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's just like that. Think of it like the elements. The Earth Drake, it's when you put on that Earth armor, you coat yourself so you're extra tanky. This gives you those extra resistances and a shield on top of that. So if this is secured here by the side of Fast and Ferrous, that means not only will they be all iron themed, they will also have some stone on top of them. CTC and then another 1v1. This player just loves to duke it out and fight, but has not been able to find success in that, as Seasoned Cast Iron will take that solo kill.
You could tell that Seasoned Cast Iron didn't want to do it to him. He didn't want to do it to him. He
back end, Cast Iron fan, flashing forward, throws down the ultimate, the box, locking everybody in. Spotafood goes onto the back line of Addis with a huge ultimate, but it's not enough damage. They provide the CC lockdown, but there's no one to follow up. Now Retro Wave Outrun will go down, a double kill to Cast Iron Griddle. My bare hands gets knocked up, gets thrown to the side, a triple kill over to Griddle, and that might just be game.
Yep, 21 minutes in, almost 22. They're able to just push straight down here. They have enough attack damage, enough attack speed, and you can see CTC. He's the only one left here. Is he going to throw his little 0-7 body at them? Oh, okay, yeah, they're going to back off. They're going to go for the Baron. The Baron gives a large power boost. Where the Dragon is on the bottom side of the map, the Baron is mirrored on the top side of the map to kind of balance it out, and that's what they're going to head here. It's this giant worm. It'll give them a team-wide buff that helps them push structures, boosts up their minions' power, and they just kind of want to have a little more fun in this game.
Yeah, they decided not to go for the speed run, opting more for the Ferrous rather than the Fast in the team name title. They want this Baron buff to help give them some more iron-themed items here. Because the Baron buff not only does give you a lot of gold to start things off, it also buffs all of your minions. Those little creeps that we talked about earlier on, they all turn purple, they get a little bit bigger, and they do a lot more damage as well. So looks like they will reset, try and spend their gold, get some more items in their pocket, and then go back onto the Rift to try and end the game next fight around. But this puts Team Deciding in a really rough position. Not only are you down a large amount of gold, but you might just get solo killed on the top lane. Never mind, there is an AD carry here as well. CTC, he's not using this one. No! That's not a 1v1, that's not fair. Come on.
Come on, man. He's just trying to play the game. He's 0-8. And this is something that top laners talk about all the time, is once they start losing their matchup, they are so removed from the rest of the map that they don't get any help. And it just went from bad to worse. And honestly, Cast Iron Griddle, he's a big meanie this game. He sniffed out the weakness, and he, is a jungler, you got to be merciless. He's kind of just doing his job, I understand, but
nice.
You can tell he wants to win.
I actually would have liked to see if Cast Iron Pan could have 1v1'd him at that point. The support having a couple items, but what a hook onto Nevadis.
It would have
been
such a good
playing
ulti.
on the MacBook back in the day. Doesn't matter that you got the mouse here when Cast Iron Pan's got fingers like those. Now, Seasoned Cast Iron diving deep, takes out another kill onto Spotafood. Another hook from Pan. This player cannot miss. And this has got to be the end of the game, Zirene. They got the Baron buff already. They don't need the Dragon Soul. They can just march in this wave and start claiming the enemy Nexus turrets. There's just nothing that Retro Wave Outrun can do. The only member still alive, but the Nexus will fall. And Fast and Ferrous will move forward in the tournament with another win. And in pretty dominant fashion, I have to say.
Yeah, they got to rename to Fast and Unfairest, dude, because they that was not fair, even in the slightest, to the top laner. 0-9 and 0. CTC didn't really get to play the game at all. And like I was saying, I think Cast Iron, Griddle, as well as the rest of the team, really kind of sensed that right from the get-go that was the player that they were going to pick on. I even saw it at the start where I was like, his summoner spells are a little different than the norm. And his item buy, I was like, this guy doesn't really play as much League of Legends as everyone else in the game, but it's an opportunity to learn. I don't know. I like getting I might be, a little bit different than people, but I like getting destroyed in games to make me realize just how far I have to go because I'll learn a lot. If I'm playing against people the same skill level, I'm not learning much unless I'm really challenging myself. So,
Hmm.
I like being
Can't make an
challenged by
omelet without
others.
cracking a couple eggs, Zirene, I think is the way to put it.
And I'm
And
the
it
I'm
doesn't
the eggs in those situations. So,
doesn't hurt to have a cast iron griddle to cook those with as well. So, congratulations to Fast and Ferris for moving forward there. And again, I think that looking holistically at team deciding for the rest of the tournament, they're not in a terrible position. I took a look at the damage graphs where you can see how much damage each individual player did throughout the game, and they actually had some key carries there. Retro Wave Outrun on the Zoe was outputting an insane amount and actually did the most
yep.
damage in the entire game despite not picking up a kill and being down a lot of gold comparatively to the opponent, specifically the jungler and cast iron griddle. So I'm going to keep my eye on you, team deciding. I think if you can shore up that weakness in the top side, maybe put CTC on a tank. When I'm helping people start the game and learn how to play, I'm always recommending they play tanks because even if you're getting camped like that, even if you're not quite sure you know what you're doing, you're going to have a big health bar, you're going to be beefy, and you can just tank up a lot of damage so that the other people on your team can be throwing out those skills and doing damage themselves. So team deciding, we'll see if you can go further on in this tournament, pick up a couple more wins. But Fast and Ferris, they're looking pretty good, honestly. I don't know where I rate them compared to, definitely hacking that we saw in that game number 1. But if those two teams end up facing off against each other, it should be a pretty spicy matchup.
Yeah, it actually be really good. I always like seeing the winners and the people who, are having good records go up against each other, but that's what tournament formats are all about. Is you have the winners play. So,
Exactly. So we'll have to wait with bated breath to see when or if we will see that matchup. But until then, we're going to send it to a short break while we get ready for our game number 3 for the Spotify internal tournament. You're not going to want to miss it, so don't go anywhere.